We would like to inform you that the form of presence will be available on the meeting chat. And don't forget to fill it out. And please do open your camera so that we can see your pretty faces. And please don't forget to mute your microphone. So, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to request for everyone to sit up straight for singing the Indonesian national anthem, Indonesia Raya, and the Diponegoro University's March.
Wahai mahasiswa, harapan bangsa-bangsa, semangat Diponegoro, kobarkan hidayah. Kita bekerja belajar, capai cita-cita, junjunglah tinggi Diponegoro. Amalkan watak satria, bakti yang tarik punah, mengabdi tanah pusaka, ibu Indonesia, berjalan Pancasila, membangun dunia, junjunglah tinggi Diponegoro.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you can sit relax.
So we will be having the material session for today's summer course program. And the main topic for today is disaster nursing. And it will be presented by our inspirational speaker that will be introduced later.
So, since we have come to our main agenda, let us introduce our moderator for today's material session. She is Nurse Dian Yuli Wijayanti, Bachelor of Nursing, Master of Nursing. So, Mrs. Dian Yuli Wijayanti is a lecturer in Nursing Department, Faculty of Faculty of Medicine, Diponegoro University. She was born in Jakarta, July 16, 1976. She lives in Semarang, and she is a lecturer of the mental health nursing in this university. She took her nursing bachelor in Gajah Mada University and took her master of mental health nursing from University of Indonesia. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Nurse Dian Yuli Wijayanti. For Mrs. Dian, the time and screen is yours.
Okay, thank you, Uchan and Rizka. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody. Hope you are good today. First of all, let's praise our God, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, Tuhan Yang Maha Esa, the most gracious, the most merciful, the creator and sustainer of the universe. Wabizini ilman, warzuqni fahman. Allahumma kulli wa hidayah, warhamumma kama rabbayani saghira. Welcome back to all participants. There are 29 participants here. Yeah, it's okay. Most of you are from Indonesia, I believe. Jadi sebenarnya pakai bahasa Indonesia juga nggak apa-apa kali ya. But there are also from Malaysia. Well, it's our pleasure to have all of you in the second day program of online summer course. On the first day, we already discussed about material explanation of Islamic spirituality and healing in Islam. Today, we will discuss about disaster nursing. Like MC said before, I'm Dian Yuli Wijayanti. Allow me to be your moderator today on the summer course, which title is The Power of Islamic Spirituality Coping in Dealing with Disaster, Tuesday, September 20, 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a wonderful speaker today. We have Professor Sakiko Hanbara. She is from Kobe City College of Nursing, Japan. Welcome to Professor Sakiko Kanbara. Irasaimasu. Selamat datang. So, yeah, allow me to read the CV. Yes. Professor Sakiko Kanbara is a lecturer in Kobe City College of Nursing, Japan. She lives in Kochi City, Japan. Maybe next, yes. She graduated Bachelor of Nursing from Kobe University School of Medicine Faculty of Health Science, 2001. She graduated Master Health Science in Environmental Epidemiology 2003 from Kobe University Graduate School of Health Science. And she completed doctoral program in Public Health and International Health from Okayama University, Graduate School of Medicine, Dentistry, and Pharmaceutical Science in 2007. That followed many activities in disaster nursing, actually, as well as professor in disaster nursing, such as founder of Epi Nurse Association. She had been in Bali, actually, for visiting professor program in Udayana University, Indonesia. And she have been also in committee membership. Look at the committee membership, maybe. Committee membership. Yes. Yeah. She's the founder of Epi Nurse, yeah. It's incredible. Epi Nurse Association, yeah. And then she's the member of Japan Science Council, Board of Japan Society in Disaster Nursing, and many other. And let's look at the award. Yes, award of excellence from Ministry of Internal Affairs in Communication, and also Special Innovation Award for Data Preparation for Disaster Recovery map, and many other. Maybe next. There's so many, yeah. Her research, this is, yes. Her research grants and related project is about principal investigator, which is building consensus and creating disaster mitigation care using perception of disaster risk and many other of principal investigator. And look at the books, we have many books and also article, yeah. Just like you see, and they're also active in conference activity and talks. Yes, maybe enough. Thank you, Ukian and Krista. Ladies and gentlemen, just like before, today's session is going to run about 3 hours along with the discussion session. So, Professor Sakiko, time is yours.
Thank you very much, Diane. Pagi, everyone. My name is Sakiko Kanbara from Kobe City College of Nursing. Today, I'd like to talk about disaster nursing. And disaster nursing is not emergency nursing and public health, but I want to connect to disaster nursing as primary health care and utilize communication. So today I will talk about my theory and activity and experience. I will show the screen. Can't you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. Already, Diane talk about me, but shortly. Yeah, my name is Sakiko Kambara. I'm Japanese. I'm got the Bachelor of Nursing, but I study epidemiology and public health for master degree and doctoral degree. At that time, I collaborate with Gajah University, Indonesia. My major of our work is prevention, diabetes prevention at that time. More than 20 years ago, I study about diabetes and lifestyle related disease 25 years ago, but everyone don't know about diabetes enough, and lifestyle is really connected to the disease. So I study in Yogyakarta and Bali Island to discuss and study about diabetes in Indonesia at that time. Then I graduate school and my work experience, because disaster in Japan, disaster prone area. So after graduate doctoral degree, I joined the University of Hyogo Research Institute of Nursing Care for People and Community, WHO Collaborating Center, because as you know, 1995, Hanshin Awaji earthquake occurred at that time, and disaster nursing is not a measure, and we develop how educate, how research disaster nursing. Then yes, and as you know, the 2004 Sumatra earthquake occurred. So, and during I was a researcher of University of Hyogo. I study also about the Sumatra tsunami in Thailand and Indonesia and Sri Lanka, and collaborate with Professor Ahir Yani in Indonesia, University of Indonesia. She was president of Indonesian Nursing Association at that time, and she also joined the project of disaster recovery and disaster nursing, and she launched a disaster nursing study in Indonesia, I knew. Then after that, I work this University of Kochi or University of Hyogo, and now I work in Kobe City College of Nursing. During these 10 years, I work for development of new global disaster nursing program for master degree and doctoral degree through my experience and study, and I collaborate with another university professors, and we go to the fund for this for research fund and education startup fund, and two of Indonesian Kepulauan student from Gajah Mada University. His name is Hastro Dwinantowaji, and he was 33 years old last year, and but passed away. And I collaborate with him, and I was supervisor of him. So I often go to Suleiman area, maybe nearby your university. And another student is Dr. Yudi Chandra Aresta. He is now lecturer in Indonesia University, and I have two students in Indonesia now, they graduate already, and he study and work in Indonesia, and hope we collaborate more in Indonesia for disaster nursing. And yeah, actually, I'm a disaster nursing. But I focus on disaster and disaster risk management and public health. And at the same time, I focus on more health informatics and technology and brand new technology, how to utilize technology for communication at the time emergency and disaster. Yeah, so I got this kind of award, especially for communication and information communication technology issue, and big data and open data. And I will talk about this later.
Yeah.
Yes. First of all, I would talk about my Kobe City College of Nursing. You know Kobe City, Osaka, nearby Osaka, Kansai Kicks Airport, and about 2 hours by bus, you can arrive Sannomiya, Kobe, and using subway, you will reach our university. Here, Japanese map, and here Kobe, and west side of Kobe City. And our president is Professor Hiroko Minagi. He is former president of International Council of Nurses, and she launched the disaster nursing competency project something. And if possible, and this is campus map of our university, and almost the same like your university. And but we have the architecture is nearly nearly Florence Nightingale. Florence Nightingale. Florence means Firenze, Italy. Florence Nightingale was born in Italy, Firenze. So our university architecture is Firenze style like this, and have garden, and this kind of phenomenon. We can feel like Florence Nightingale and study and nursing. And this is the admission policy of our university. Yeah, of course, we are single and discipline university of nursing. So nursing oriented disposition and respect for human being and the people. And we commit to the human-centered approach and people-centered approach. And our work is flexibility in thought and ability to take action. So not for medical care, but human care. We focus on more human security and care. And our objective of our university like this to develop ability practice nursing in response to the individual needs of diverse people based on the sense of self-awareness and responsibility as a natural professional, nursing professional, and to cultivate a sense of ethics, nursing ethics based on understanding of dignity of life and respect for human life to engender or professional stance at activity address ethical care. Ethical issue is very important nowadays, even though you can use technology and data. So we have to more focus on about ethical issue as a nurse and to cultivate the ability to build a relationship with others based on truth in themselves. Even though we use online course or online nursing, telenursing, but truth is very important. And to cultivate a sense of leadership and cooperation as a means of facilitating active cooperation and partnership with other professionals like a doctor, nutritionist, dietitian, PT, OT, and not only the medical, but community people also, and particular health, medical care, and welfare workers as global citizens. And to cultivate an interest in local community and understanding of health-related needs and willing to activity participate local activity. We focus on more local activity because culture is diverse, and nowadays we have to think about SDGs and send the framework like global issue. But for global issue, we have to work for local. We have to make a best for local activity. From local activity, we can get some global health issue. And to cultivate an ability to communicate with individuals from different cultural background and willingness to approach and address nursing issue from global perspectives, as I told. So today, I really glad and appreciate I can join this work and workshop and MOOC, and because very, very cultural sensitive issue and cultural disaster nursing on disaster. So anyway, this is the number of students and master's program, doctoral program student, and I have course of research course of master degree for disaster nursing and global health, and not only research course but certified nursing specialist course I have. So even not really welcome to your from Indonesia student and collaborative research also. This is example on the international exchange, and sometimes we got special lecture like this. So we call the Nursing Development Center for Diversity, and I joined this. I join and lead of this center to initiate the new something new disaster nursing research award. And the conceptual diagram of center, local revitalization. This is center of our concept. And for local revitalization, international exchange also required. And of course, interdisciplinary work and disaster risk management also required. And not only at the time of disaster and disaster cycle, we have to talk about lifelong education for disaster risk reduction. So, and regional, of course, not only international exchange, but regional collaboration also essential. We have 8 main projects like this, not only disaster nursing, but international exchange and home care support, community health care support. Otherwise, we cannot give them good disaster risk management. And we also have midwifery course and additional. And today, I want to focus on more EPINAS project because I'm a president of EPINAS Incorporate and research called EPINAS project. And that means epidemiology and nursing. So at the time of disaster, epidemiology is very important. So I call our work EPINAS. And that means disaster nursing, primary health care, and utilize communication and how to visualize our EPINAS. Because as you know, from now I talk about disaster nursing. So far I talk about our university. So I want to start disaster nursing study. And you know Florence Nightingale work at the time of Crimea War. Florence Nightingale had so many work at the time of Crimea War, middle of 18th century. And Florence Nightingale, in the world history, she cared with nurses, clean air, water, food, warm food, and clean air. And this is basic of current nursing. And but you may know, Florence Nightingale is not only nurse but statistician. She used infograph. She used infogram and using diagram. She visualized the mortality and compare with nursing care and nursing care and hygiene situation. But what is very, very special, she have never used PowerPoint. And even though she didn't know diagram and graph and infograph, but she create new info diagram. And she convinced the government officer and the military leader and how nurse is very strong and strong care and saves the hygiene and saves their mortality. This is the roots of disaster nursing and EPINAS. So how I work, but in other hand, since work of Florence Nightingale, so many Red Cross and dispatched nurses. Anyway, in the local, so many nurses work at the time of disaster as voluntary, but no work, no research, no study. So when at the time of Hanshin Awaji earthquake, 1995, I was university student, undergraduate student. I couldn't find, I never find about disaster research, disaster nursing research so far. Anyway, I got to have some report and working report of Red Cross. So my supervisor, Professor Hiroko Minami, launched Disaster Nursing Network funded by National Research Grant. And we seek to how to visualize the relief effort by nurse and how to make the dispatch system to relief. This is 25 years ago. And since then, we developed community volunteer nurse and nursing system and volunteer nursing system and this educational system. And 10 years ago, we launched disaster nursing global leadership program and specialist, certified specialist nurses. But 2011, Great East Japan earthquake occurred. So far, also we are the Society of Disaster Nursing also. The Indonesian nurse, so many Indonesian nurse organizations joined the project and World Society of Disaster Nursing, and some Indonesian nurse also board member of the World Society of Disaster Nursing. So if you are interested, please join and enter the website and join us. This is the definition of disaster nursing. The definition of disaster nursing by Japan Society of Disaster Nursing 2002. The definition of disaster nursing is systematic and flexible utilization, knowledge, and skill specific to disaster-related nursing and the promotion of a wide range of activities to minimize the health hazard and life-threatening damage caused by disaster, in collaboration with other specialized from disaster prevention, initial, medium, and long term. As I told, past active achievement since before Tohoku 2011 tsunami, we develop immediate response and relief in acute phase, and we join disaster medical assistant team and trained dispatch nurses, and we gather the information and lesson learned from past disaster based on relief work. But we realized after a very, very big catastrophe, 2011 tsunami, we realized nurse should work transdisciplinary and long-term recovery, and community-based is important, and seamless and continuous support is required because we are a caregiver, not just cure. So we convince or care community people until build back better, and and how to maintain the health, not only the acute cure. And for that, nurse need policy recommendation for behalf of community people, and disaster ethics is very specific, and so we research about disaster ethics also. This is demand-based innovation, we call. So we launched the Disaster Nursing Global Leadership Program 2012. And he is Hastro Toaji. He already passed away last year, 2 years ago. And he is Yudi Chandra. He is Indonesia faculty member of University of Indonesia. And as I told, World Society of Disaster Nursing, please join us. And we launch also health emergency and disaster nursing. And leader, if you are interested in just now, we call for the paper of COVID experience, what your community and what your university or hospital experience have had experience in during COVID. Now we call for paper. Deadline is end of November. If you are interested in, please join us and please call and ask me on how to apply this. Yes. And our work change. Not at first of all, first we have lesson learned and discuss and concretization and what we make word into action and nursing contribution from World Bonsai Forum. And now we work and study and research for 2030 achievement of SDGs now. This is a basic keyword of disaster nursing based on Sendai framework to achieve SDGs. Sendai framework is a concept of and declaration for disaster risk reduction. And you may know for disaster nursing or disaster risk reduction, the scientific research guide should include all hazard, not only earthquake or tsunami, natural hazard, but all hazards research is required, and not only early response, but early warning system also required, and using drone or geographic information system, GIS, and open data. And policy should not only how to do, but policy should problem solving and result oriented is required. And policy is not just an approach should be not only emergency response, but this risk-based management, risk-based solution is required, and need coherence, global and national community is required. And not disaster nursing and disaster risk management is not only top down system, but outreach and bottom-up system is required. And build back better platform. And most important is people-centered. For people-centered disaster risk reduction, disaster nursing is have a role, very important role. And so that means it's the framework of disaster risk reduction mean for nursing comprehensive key to developing effective disaster risk reduction. And we have to increase the focus on health in disaster risk management. So far, disaster risk management is focused on more civil engineering, but nowadays the disaster risk management work for health and people-centered. So nurses have to join to disaster risk management using disaster nursing. And if we use this kind of global agenda and framework, we can work binding the gap between knowledge and practice. And we really need global partnership for the research because every research, every disaster is unexpected and never experienced anymore in another country. So we share the experience and how to work at a time of disaster or recovery, and share the experience, and global partnership and collaboration is very, very important. So our work research field work or field work like this. Not only collaborate with government and industry and shift to global health policy research, something like that. But if we talk about interdisciplinary work, nurses have to think about more indicator for health and nursing, and availability of access to data and statistics and disaggregated data by characteristic relevant in community. So nurse, we use sometimes mixed method and qualitative data and quantitative data and sequential data. So how we can open the data and collaborate and connect to data with another discipline. And people-centered and bottom-up approach is very important, and how to speak up and how to ensure that no one is left behind. That's very important. So interdisciplinary work, transdisciplinary work, disaster research is interdisciplinary, but how to join, how nurse can join as human science and for health security, not prevention disease, not only it is prevention disease, injury prevention, mass casualty, but we work and we collaborate as nursing science, as human science, and for health security. That's mind is very important. Next, I talk about care for disaster risk reduction. So I now launch my work website. Please join. So because of this, I work and I make this theoretical model I developed. Because as you know, Florence Nightingale said, nursing is a combination of art and science and care and cure. And we, of course, we help cure in hospital, but at that time of disaster, we have to work in open system out of hospital and prevent the community people from the hospitalization. And so based on this, we have, as I talked, we should work based on human security and security measure for water, including water and hygiene, or sanitation and hygiene. And we need care, water, food, living environment and health to not to cure. Care can, everyone can care, no one, everyone can care in community. So how nurse can lead, initiate care in the community. That's very important. In other hand, we have, nevertheless, we care in the community. So many disaster problem occurred, not only at at event occur, but so many issues occur in hospital. Not only hospital have to cure injury and disease caused by disaster event, especially 3 days and 1 week, 2 week. But in the shelter in community, already people have so many medical needs and how to care them and how to secure their health and especially care of people in need of consideration during the disaster. This work is not only 1 week, 2 week, more long, especially mental health issue. For example, only at first of 2 weeks, no mental health issue. But after 1 month, 2 months, after 1 week, years, mental health becomes severe. Sometimes she becomes severe and severe. So, and so spiritual care is also required, depend on the community and country. And of course, we nurse mind ethical issue, mind need is required in headquarter of disaster countermeasure. Because only top-down system on only civil engineering is not enough for community people to prevent and maintain health. So, and this is another theoretical model of our work. How nurse to people again, how nurse can gain to community people the health literacy and disaster nursing and for primary health care. Not only health literacy in daily life, but our disaster nursing required not only technology and knowledge, but perception and communication is required, and not only attitude. How scared, how feel this risk, like how to evacuate, and for that the individual character the caused by individual character, of course, and not only individual characteristics like literacy or disaster experience. Locality is also caused by the literacy gain and disaster risk management, because the locality, for example, in Java Island, and volcano eruption prone area, flood prone area, and earthquake prone area. So the characteristics of community people should be strong for the disaster or prevent from the disaster, not disease, but disaster. This kind of model is contribute to reduction of health risk. And based on otherwise, if very peaceful area, no earthquake fear and volcano fear, they community people don't want to think about the disaster risk reduction. So based on this kind of sense, we approach to community people and collaborate on primary health care and for disaster nursing preparedness. So this is also another conceptual map of disaster nursing. Yes, place, as I talked, locality and time when preparedness phase or response phase or recovery phase, something like that. And and based on the time and area, we think about what kind of skills and support and care needs, and to maintain the health and wash hygiene and environment like this. And of course, we focus on more resilience system and community resilience, health resilience, and anyway, the term of resilience. And in Japan now, this is what kind of research is we already have done, and not only in construction of disaster nursing, collaborative system is required nowadays, because at the time of disaster, out of hospital, not only nurse work for the survivor, but many volunteer, many government office and organization work for disaster risk reduction. So we have to know ourselves, who we are, how we are, how we do, and how disaster nursing contribute to health for community people. This is the experience of our why we can think about like this. We also joined the nursing role in the ocean tsunami in Indonesia 20 years ago, 18 years ago, and also China, and this is not role of nursing, and they mainly they join in the hospital, and this is the role of Philippine nurses. They work national or local nursing association work at the time of Typhoon Haiyan. They work to outside of hospital and community shelter, and they work long term and they make an organization system of volunteer recruitment and local coordination, and facilitate volunteerism and effective disaster response. And getting a nurse ready to respond is part of the goal, safe living, minimize disability, and helping build resilience among individuals and community during emergency and disaster. And like this, how we feel and how we recognize the lesson learned, how we research disaster nursing, we depend on how we grasp the challenge at the time of disaster or in the community. The disaster nursing very various and wide range, and many work and task to do like this. And by the way, as I talked, our university and our disaster nursing global leadership program defined what kind of new paradigm of disaster nursing required. We talked 10 years ago, just after tsunami 2011. Yeah, as I talked, first achievement is hazard-based, disease-based, and immediate response and relief in acute phase, and the training and lesson learned from past disaster. And so, but as I talked, transdisciplinary work and long-term recovery is required, and the nurse have to work more long-term and how to connect that in daily life and build back better. This is result of our discussion. Upper is our output of our discussion, and bottom is the conceptual framework of health emergency and disaster risk management by WHO. WHO already declared this kind of framework, you may know. But just they launched this release of this framework 2019, just after this release, COVID situation occurred. So not so many not so many people don't know about this framework, but we have to think about disaster risk management and health emergency is very, very important, and how we think about the same issue, and especially for think about health and integrate in the same budget or same budget or same framework or same sector. So if we talk about disaster risk management or health emergency at the same time, they say this left side is approach so far, even though the global agenda event-based, but new health EDRM, health emergency and disaster risk management mention, we have to change this kind of mindset change. Not only event-based like earthquake, tsunami, flood, but risk-based. What kind of risk? Means, for example, finance risk, economic risk, and health risk, and risk-based, we have to think about how to reduce the risk reduction, how to using the epidemiological approach also, and not reactive but proactive. Reactive means we have to we can work after disaster, but we have to look for the risk. We have to try to find the risk, and we need nurse can do proactive approach and to prevention disease and disaster also. And the disaster is not hazard, but disaster risk, including event and vulnerability and capacity gain. So for that need not hazard focus, but we have to focus more vulnerability and capacity. We have to focus on that because we focus on hazard. Anyway, evacuate hazard, escape from the hazard, but that is not enough. We have to focus on what is vulnerability, but who is vulnerability, and what kind of capacity, who need this kind of capacity and need strength for the maintain the health. And not only, this is my nursing work, but this not separate responsibility, but please share the responsibility with whole of society. Whole of society should have responsibility of disaster risk reduction. So we need to discuss with community people how to reduce this disaster risk and health risk. So need not response focus, but we call this is risk management. And not planning for community, but we need primary health care planning with community. What is the difference planning for community but planning with community? If we think about planning for community, we have to work for community, but if we plan with community, we can discuss with community people, and community people can work for disaster risk reduction and health. This is also demand-based innovation. And after that, I work in Gorka earthquake 2015. So I'd like to talk about the Gorka earthquake Nepal at the time. I was working as a nurse at the time of Nepal earthquake. And at the time, mission of Epinars, my project, to implement and extend the initiative based on care science to create safe social system and environments in Japan and abroad, with aim of reducing health risk associated with climate change and natural disaster. As you know, what we need to do when disaster occurs. We, not only this nurse, not nurse, but community people need escape from the disaster hazard. Anyway, then we need protect our life and health. Then we support, rebuild their living environment. This is 3 steps of disaster nursing, basically. So, if we think about these 3 steps, I realize we need first aid and mental health care, or secure food and toilet bath and wash. This is the role of disaster nursing care, but why we do that? To protect human security, protect and secure the health and human being. For that, we need not only work in the hospital and using electronic medical record, and we try how to visualize the care and health needs at a time of disaster. So I developed that application, smartphone application 7 years ago in the Nepal, and not only smartphone apps, but of course we need to use paper-based layman style, of course. And how I combine this kind of Excel layman style and paper and application and assessment form. And anyway, we know to detect the disease and the injury, but for maintaining and proactive care and community health, we need to visualize like Nightingale, living environment assessment, shelter characteristics assessment, and physical assessment also required at the time of disaster in the shelter. And so I make the J-Rapid monitoring toolkit like a home visiting care and for primary healthcare service. And I make the fixed point observation, not only care and work, but observation is very important in disaster setting. And what is the phenomenon of the local issue and problem, the observation, like using ethnographical issue, and very important. Otherwise, disaster warning system in the hospital, they detect and count the disease. So they hospital call me, oh, no casualty because no report. Of course, no report, but no report means not no casualty at the time of disaster. No report means very severe situation also occurred. So anyway, we have to join and go to the field, and we have to observe what happened, what is happening then, and visualize and report and connect to stakeholders. And this observation from the perspective of nurse is very important because we can understand the local people and using communication, narrative communication, and using local knowledge and local language. Otherwise, no one can visualize, no can dispatch dog from outside nurse cannot understand what is differences from former disaster and after the event. So local nurse observation is a very, very important monitoring tool and monitoring insight. That's very important. So, and I make the using the apps and I develop and design how to visualize and how to speak, how to make the apps to for community people to speak up about the health. And not only map this, of course, mapping-based visualization is important, and based on mapping system because of epidemiology, health risk assessment, and speed and surveillance system, and as well as early warning system is of course required. But not only the assessment form, direct care by nurse, the dialogue and communication is very most important, and they calling communication, narrative communication is most visualized, most severe issue on the community of the community. So our challenge is how to visualize, how to communicate, to connect the care and seamless care of the community people. And so now I develop another work, and we realize, maybe web survey and crowdsourcing mapping and rapid assessment tool and geotagged photo of smartphone. You may know smartphone geotagged photo. This is very, very useful at the time of disaster. Or not only geotagged and time tag also we can utilize. So utilize the geotagged and chronological issue also very important. So nurse can work using this kind of smartphone apps function and visualize the care. So more from now and in future. So now I develop how to utilize this kind of system and care, especially for public health nurse and disaster nursing, and not only after the disaster response, but disaster risk reduction and prevention. Because at the time of disaster, this is the real situation. So how to use the apps and how to communicate and how to report up when we report up. So I always ask the teams, not only caregiver, but reporter also required at the time of disaster, because our insight and experience would be very difficult to share to another people for interdisciplinary approach. So for the interdisciplinary approach need to visualize like this. Many interdisciplinary collaborator is required to research, but if we can collaborate with another engineering researcher or anthropologist, and we can utilize AI and artificial intelligence or deep learning, something like that. If we can do that, and we can care at the time of disaster more. This is my result of my work. No, so if once we can use the data, geotagged data and chronological data. This is epidemiology. People, time, and place is the three basic pillar of the epidemiology. So we visualize using geotag and timeline. Where is vulnerable area and where is the all I realized only Kathmandu, only in the Kathmandu many food and water, but another local area no water and no food. We can compare and we can make the evidence to and for the stakeholder to convince and get the more support and relief and more access equality. And then if we can use timeline compare with another area and what kind of symptom is happening now and something like that. And anyway, this kind of cutting edge or innovative mind and cultural innovation mind is required, open governance and open system, because a disaster situation is very, very new communication community, unexpected, so very difficult to prepare and very difficult to make the plan. And so I always talk about this and need the insight and observation is required. And as you know, nurse can do the observe community people, especially for local nurse, is very, very have good insight. So how to utilize this kind of knowledge and wisdom and power. So, and anyway, this is the three framework of competency for disaster nursing in Japan. That we develop this competency competency framework. 2006 and 2007 we launched, and fortunately ICN and WHO also join this and get this work, initiate this successor of this work. Nowadays, ICN have disaster nursing competency and already revised to version 2. And please visit in disaster nursing competency version 2.0. Now, based on before disaster nursing competency 1.0, we make this kind of framework. This fundamental attitude toward disaster nursing, fundamental attitude, and the care provision for vulnerable people and their families, and systematic assessment and the provision of disaster nursing care. And then professional development is maternal care, pediatric care, something like that. And the professional and for that knowledge and skill and judgment competency is required. So then now I realize so many kind of disaster nursing, including hospital nurse and younger nurse. But for disaster nursing and community nursing, yeah, of course, need knowledge and competency. Yeah, this is the knowledge. How to get the knowledge. This is required availability. This is perception. This is example role in disaster management. Usually, and so far, we think about nurse role, disaster nursing nurse role in disaster, or lesson from past disaster relief work. This is not enough. This is just a student, undergraduate student, but work as dispatch nurse. If dispatch nurse, we have to work independently. So competency, I can cure the patient. This is required. But another, if we commit to outcome, I can triage and arrange the care, the community people. So, but for transformation on disaster setting, because mass casualty and unexpected and unlimited community people uncountable. So for that, we feel and we have to work for, I can manage the care in the affected community. And otherwise, how even we dispatch so many nurses, this is not enough. So how I can manage the care affected community? Not only dispatch the nurse, but and master degree, doctor degree, not enough, but visualize and train the local nurse also, and how to gain the competency of local nurse. And the community-based disaster reduction plan and interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary work is required. And policy proposal also required review and disaster ethics. Review another discipline of disaster risk reduction. And for very different ethics of from civic tech and civil engineering, they have many disaster ethics. So how we can collaborate, nurse can collaborate. Something like that. This is my work. Collaborator, for example, not only our team is epinurse, but not in the board member. I'm president, but only me is nurse. Another collaborator is not a nurse. From health informatics, attorney law, and government officer. And transdisciplinary visualization and care, and I collaborate with geographer, health informatics, and cultural anthropologist also required. Not high tech, but anthropological phenomenon also very important. So how to, for nursing, care and cure, now sociologists also required. And how to, for disaster risk reduction, how to care and this how to, and so really vital for us to discuss interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary and globally. Because if only we using the apps and smartphone and collaborate online, but we can in Nepal case, yeah, we can do that. We can do that. And don't worry, mom. They said, and we already make the best, try the best. And she said, but in their situation, chaos situation, never speak up at the same time. So this is the gap of nursing research and nursing evidence. So, and I already think about how to manage these gaps. Then this is WHO minimum data set. They count only disease and only wash and nutrition, non-food items about shelter, just check box. So we cannot communicate using this assessment form. So our challenging disaster research, pre-disaster data, no pre-disaster data, because community move, migrant, including migrant displacement. And no time to pilot study because society is changing, and the data is always disaggregated. And the hypothesis planning is also very difficult nowadays. and because systemic risk and uncertainty world now. Anyway, and about disaster management and disaster narrating relief and the budget, because we cannot estimate the budget at the time of disaster. We cannot estimate the range of the catastrophe and disaster. But anyway, we have to discuss, always discuss too with interdisciplinary and international collaboration. That's a very this is a very good point and interesting point of disaster nursing, I feel. And collaboration with community people also essential. And how community people know about disaster, how community people can work with disaster. This is disaster education to health kadar by Hastroduinan Toaji in Java Island. I think this is nearby Smalan area and this fraud prone area, I thought. And this is Japanese gender because disaster nursing and disaster risk reduction, female women often miss the opportunity to gain the disaster risk literacy, and no chance, no opportunity to speak up for disaster risk management. So at the time after disaster event occurred, female and women become vulnerable group, and mortality is very different. So now I make empowerment. I empower the female and women and in the local community to speak up the disaster risk management. And not only the workshop and group work is not enough. And we have to visualize their load and time management also, and what kind analyze and visualize the output of workshop. Yeah, if we analyze the workshop and the debriefing of their work, we realize output of workshop is very different and depend on the participant, not only female, only male, only or combination or the teamwork. Depend on the teamwork and the balance of gender. The output of disaster risk management workshop is very, very different. And that means after workshop, when we make the plan for community, a plan with community, the output of community plan of disaster risk management is very different. So we need, and we are research the process and output or conversation of workshop now analyze using text mining and videos, real-time video. Anyway, I already talked about locality, and risk perception is very important. And how we should care, and what we should care: water, food, living environment, and health maintenance. And yes, but we sometimes it's difficult to visualize what is most important at the time of disaster to empower them, or what is the risk. Disaster health is physical. Definition of health is, as you know, physically and mentally and socially well-being. So at the time of disaster, this kind of social well-being is threatened, mental well-being also threatened, and physical well-being also is threatened. So when always after disaster occurred, not at the same time, but local nurse sometimes do not want to talk more at the time of disaster, but they want to talk 1 year ago, after 1 year or 2 years, and later. So I sometimes make the group work and for debriefing with nurse and what is perceived risk, what is occurred, what is happened, the open question, and I could discuss with them, and they realize, yeah, this so many disaster risk factor, affect to their behavior and culture and daily living practice and awareness and religious factor and living environment, not only living environment. This because of disaster, their living culture and living lifestyle attitude will or sometimes often change. So because this changing cause to disaster, secondary disaster event and disaster health and sometimes difficulty to manage the health, so maintain the health. So now and nurse also take care about their lifestyle and belief and culture changing at the time of disaster and needs that more spiritual care or healing also very important, not only physical care. Again, I also same this matrix. So this matrix. So if we can understand their culture and changing and the spiritual care changing, we can focus more. We can more care more in the shelter or community, not on as well as self-care and individuals. For that, Epinance partners, our Epinance collaborate not only medical team and stakeholders, but we required to collaborate with people, organizations who want to be able to conduct activities that contribute to reduction of health risk during disasters, and we collaborate with local civic activity leaders and companies that who are interested in sustainable development company, not acute relief and not big budget, but need sustainable development of the community. That's very important. Otherwise, big acute relief cause not sustainable community. And health and welfare professional and organizations, they want to engage in activity related to the reduction of health risk for the citizens during the disasters. And the health and welfare professional and organizations who want to engage citizens in bottom-up disaster prevention and mitigation project. for that, I already promotion open governance system because very in the hospital, very close governance system. Disaster also very close governance system. So new for the unexpected and catastrophe and for human security, the open governance process system for society as a whole should be achieved through openness on the administrative side and active involvement of citizens in solving problems. So the government and citizen and should collaborate, not top-down system and care, but top-down care system, but collaborative and caring is very important. And this is the example of capacity building, the map reading, and map making. Yeah, in Nepal, not so many people and female and nurse do not understand how to read the map, how to make the map. But for epidemiology, at the time of disaster, if we cannot read the map, this is very, very vulnerable. And we cannot access to the health facility or so many facility and support and relief. So, and we nurse also, even though local nurse cannot achieve outreach to the vulnerable people and the shelter because they move to another area. So at the time of disaster, geographical information is very, very important for quick recover and sustainable community. And this is one example. Yeah, EpiNurse not only care, but gain the literacy, gain the community people and the nurse, local nurse, and the health, not only health literacy, but how to use the GIS map using a smartphone or how to make the map. And field training also always required. But now I talk how we discuss how to combine online training and combine local online training and on-site training. This balance is very, very important. And finally, we got EpiNurse Risk Award. Global now, we got this nurse, local nurse from Nepal, got the award from UN, United Nations, because of information and communication innovation, innovative concept and technology. Again, what is the nurse required? Not closing issue, but anyway, caring. Before caring, how to observe. Compassion is the most important. If we have compassion, we can do the communication with community at the time of disaster. And we can do not only top-down care, but need caring at the time of disaster. That this is the role of nurse. And if we can do compassion communication, compassion assessment and communication and caring, the community empowered and the community can work and go ahead to build back better and risk reduction. So this kind of initiative is also is very important, and this is role of nurse, I think. And then now I also not only the compassion, but for make the evidence and quick response and health monitoring. Open data also we can utilize, especially for not only health statistics, but land use, geography, and nature, and the population and number, not on, of course, population and number of households, and distribution various facilities and care and welfare and others. This is very important because and at the time of disaster, not only the census is not enough because very change rapidly, and nowadays change, the number is changing and to recover, and the community people moved. So this kind of open data we need prepare to utilize how much change, how much move to another community, something like that. This kind of original census is not enough. So, and then once again, if we talk about disaster nursing, we sometimes differ social determinant of health. Because at the time of disaster, the effect to social determinant of health become worse and worse. And so I always, as I talked at first, individual life factors, the individual lifestyle factors affect to non-communicable disease like diabetes, hypertension, something like that. And social and community networks and housing, something is environmental health and community health and occupational health, something like that. And disaster nursing, what is disaster nursing? Disaster health. Disaster health is that we need to know in the local community what is biosystem threatened, physical system threatened, and social system threatened also. This kind of threatened is disaster. So how to protect the human, not as well as lifestyle related or community health and environmental health as well. This is very unexpected and diverse and complex. So many disaster nursing research is also required toward to climate change and environment changing. And the transdisciplinary countermeasure is various. So now we have to not only think about disabled, mental health handicaps. This is just characteristics of each people. So we think about one people and one because one people in the individual have so many health characteristics. So not who we think about, not who is disability people, who is handicapped people, but what is handicapped, what is disability, what is vulnerable. So we need countermeasure for it. So otherwise, so many people handicapped, but who can work, blah, blah, blah. So this kind of structure and paradigm shift and mindset changing is very important. For that, now our work make merge risk perception and care by nurse now. Whenever to manage and train, assess, and support from the various fields, and healthcare management by oneself, and with community cross-border universal health coverage for diseases and well-being, not medical care. So we call last 1 mile need to be the first 1 mile, creating a more networked society, and enabling greater collaboration among citizens by nurse. That's very important, important mindset. So, disaster nursing required for SDGs, not disaster response nurse, but disaster risk management nurse is required in local. So this is my another work and example of my workshop and work and co-creation with the citizen communication. When we research and building good environment and model of nurse, we use sometimes not only action research, but sometimes we need pilot study or formative research also required. For that, enjoying a culturally appropriate program is required. Develop an understanding of local context of study area, identifying local expression and informing research question and design is required. And informing research question and research design, adaptation and testing of key intervention message and be culturally appropriate and sensitive and acceptable at the family and community level, and modify intervention and approach it to suit local condition. That's very important. But nowadays, disaster risk management is not so cultural sensitivity, not so much cultural sensitive, but difficult to understand. So anyway, I speak up policies and projects that are close to people. That is very important. In other hand, this kind of ethnographical mindset need big data, new cutting edge technology. This is I use the big data. This is people flow data using Yahoo Insight, Yahoo Big Data using mobile phone. We realize using big data, where people evacuate. For example, not the evacuation center and point government called, but people evacuate to in the greenhouse, resident, village hall. Sometimes responder and fireman and responder cannot find out these kind of vulnerable people, but big data can find out these kind of vulnerable people who evacuate in the greenhouse or resident or village hall. And another our work and the example of information and using the OpenStreetMap. As you know, in Indonesia, so many humanitarian open street map are there, and they make OpenStreetMap, and I combine Google Map and OpenStreetMap. OpenStreetMap we can make the change independently, not commercially. So I use OpenStreetMap because at the time after disaster occurred, the map is changed. Is changed because clasped and streeting and hazard affected. So first of all, we make the map, and after that they make the layer of Google Map and how to evacuate. And this is where is the toilet nearest. at the time of disaster, we often lose the toilet and sanitation system and threaten. So collapse. So I make the recovery map and toilet mapping. This is very important. Otherwise, cannot keep the health. And I also another make many apps and system and for innovation on disaster setting. And sometimes community-based management system and innovative idea for diary using diary system and make some model using personal health record and personal life record and big data to manage the big data. And another my work is using not only GIS or new cutting edge smartphone, but I also now make this, XR and VR, including VR, AR. Now, for example, this is the fraud using AR. This is smoke using AR, and using snow and combine virtual experience and real experience and how so we can cover not only knowledge and skills, but not only but affect to perception, risk perception. Oh, this is scared. If we don't know about scaring, sometimes they miss the evacuation. So now I make from the nursing perspective, I create the risk perception using XR, VR, AR. This is example of spiritual care and cultural care. This is example in another country. This is Japanese student make the shelter, because in Japan, usually we use the shelter, gymnasium as shelter. So they feel, of course, we use the shelter, gymnasium for shelter. But this is another student say, oh, this is free Wi-Fi is most important for shelter. And yeah, this is using Styli, web-based 3D modeling, 3D modeling asset. And we just could do 1 hour, 2 hours, just put the asset 5 meter by 5 meter. And this is center. This is trauma healing space. This is my Indonesian student to make this asset. And she said, for Indonesian people, spiritual care is very important and trauma healing is also important. So if we make ideal shelter and virtual shelter, need the wall and study discussion space and sleeping area and trauma care car and playing room is also required, they said. And very different depend on the culture and the local and geographical information, geographical situation. You can understand. Oh, this is very different and very difficult and diverse and complex. But anyway, nurse can use the consensus building. What kind of asset or what kind of function, what kind of facility is most important or most vital for the community people. And once we make the immersive experience, in this VR, we realize, oh, for this community people, we should make this kind of comfortable situation, something. Because usually we use this kind of guideline in textbook, but disaster situation is very difficult to understand only in the textbook. So I make this situation transfer to 3D model, and nurse make community people make the immersive experience. And if we use that technology in intergeneration, we can beyond the border of intergeneration. For example, sometimes elderly people cannot understand the technology, and children and kids cannot understand the disk perception. So, but using this kind of 3D model or VR and this workshop, we can discuss using making the consensus, and beyond beyond the generation, we call this is intergenerational approach. So we can realize using utilization of technology as well as an archive experience archives also. Anyway, this kind of not only intergeneration, diversity for it is very important for inclusion. So I sometimes often work this kind of team, interdisciplinary team and global team, and to understand each disk perception and making the consensus to develop with community, plan with community. Okay, anyway, I prepare this presentation, and another 30 minutes or more, can we discuss interactively? And any mini question?
Yes,
Please
of course,
raise a hand.
Professor Saki. There is a discussion session after this.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Have you finished the material?
Yeah, and if yes, I already finished my material anyway.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Professor Sakiko. Okay, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, that was the material from Professor Sakiko. As we can see that Professor Sakiko has present about disaster nursing and talk a lot about AP nurse, yeah, which is have done a lot also, yes, AP nurse. And I see that this AP nurse consists of people from different countries, isn't that true? And whether they are nurses or with specific educational background, or maybe we can ask Professor Sakiko. And we also see that there are many things that must be managed properly in disaster nursing. Yeah. Okay, everybody who wants to ask to Professor Sakiko, please. You can raise your hand directly, or you have to, or you just write down the question on the chat, please.
not only disaster nursing, but any common issue also
Yes, yes.
welcome.
Everybody, you can ask also beside disaster nursing. Yeah, if you want to ask any question about beside disaster nursing, please. Maybe can I ask you, Professor Sakiko? Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. I heard that you have been work with Prof. Ahiryani from Indonesia, yeah. Is Prof. Ahiryani join with Happiness also?
Thank you very much. And one of my students of
Or maybe my question.
In fact, my
Yes.
student, Aristra Chandra is, my student, but he is also younger lecturer of University of Indonesia, and my supervisor, Professor Minami, and Ahiryani is a very good friend. So
Oh, I
she,
see.
Ahiryani joined our project, former project, and collaborative research, so very, good collaboration, more than 20 years, 15 years.
Yes, it's been a long time, yeah. Okay, so AP nurse consists of people from different countries. Is that true? Is there any question? Maybe from anybody?
Yeah, and if I already now make copy and paste on the chat gallery style, and I already introduce the VR immersion work. So please visit if you have time.
Yes. Yeah, maybe everybody you can look at the material from Professor Sakiko. You can review the material in MOOCs, yeah, in MOOCs Undip, as all participants can access the MOOCs. Yeah, so if you want to review the material, just look at the MOOCs. Okay, there is question from Ibu Mrs. Artika Nurahima and Faradila Hanunaida. And the first opportunity we will give to Mrs. Artika Nurahima, please.
Thank you, Bu Dian, for the time. Hello, Prof. Sakiko. I want to ask you a question. In your opinion, or maybe your experience, what is the hardest part of being the EP nurse?
How to?
What is the hardest part?
Hardest.
Yes.
Hardest part. Thank you very much. So many
Yes.
hardest part, but as you know, a
Of
nurse
course.
work for individual care much more. So do not want to observe far from patient. Direct care, they want to do direct care. So sometimes I miss the community nursing leader, like epi nurse, and who can interested in epidemiology of disaster. That's most hardest way. And even though me, when I go to in disaster area, I'm a nurse, so sometimes call to direct care. And but if do so, I cannot be observe and we can analyze bird's eyes. That's very important, but very difficult, I think. And budget plan is very difficult because visualization and people convince what kind of health facility is required for long term. They disaster response and donor like NGO, international NGO, don't want to donation to direct care and acute phase. Then sometimes 2 months after 2 months, we sometimes live with mental care problem or another psychological problem also, and never reconstruct. And sometimes we live with community people with many problems. That's very hard issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sakiko.
So the hardest time is give a care to people who have disaster, which is the problem is many problem, yeah, not just physical problem but also mental problem, yeah. That's hard. Give care directly to the patient. Okay, maybe the second question will be from Faradila Hanu Naida. Please, Faradila.
Okay, thank you so much, Nurse Dia, for the opportunity. Is my voice input? All right. Okay, thank you so much. I'm very delighted having Professor as our speaker and can we broaden my knowledge about nurse role to handle disaster. I want to ask the questions. After the disaster like tsunami, the victims might have mental illness like post-trauma stress disorder. Then what are specific role of disaster nursing should do to recover the mental illness of victims, especially in Japan who have experienced tsunami in 2011? Is there a big role that disaster nursing done in restoring the mentality of the victims? So as we can see, the Japanese people can be stronger and become more developing country in the world. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it's such a long question, Professor. Please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, and at the time of because 2000, as I told, 2000 at the time of 2011 and 2011, we already construct dispatch system from all over the Japan to affected area through nursing association and prefecture nursing association and require national nursing association required to local nursing association in each prefecture and region. So and so many nurses and uncounted nurse more than 1,000, but nurse work for individual case. So no, never feel enough one by one. So that's very difficult. And matching system is not there at the time. So that is this is very difficult. So, but anyway, I feel psychological first aid by community people is effective more. So for preparedness, psychological first aid is very important that nurse can training to school nurse, school teacher or community people for prevent PTSD. And even now COVID situation, this kind of psychological first aid is more important, I think. And for Indonesian people, spiritual care is very important. So I cannot talk about the spiritual care more here. So please let me know about spiritual care in Indonesia as a cultural exchange. Actually, Indonesian students think more spiritual care. I think this is very, I think best country to think about spiritual care in disaster nursing in Indonesia, I thought. So please collaborate and exchange the knowledge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor, for the answer.
Okay, is there any questions from the other maybe?
And if no questions, another 10 minutes, I will talk my most current experience. My hometown affected. My hometown affected. I will show some picture.
Professor Sakiko, can I ask you one more question, please?
Okay.
Yeah, okay, thank you. There have been many things that have been reported by FP nurse in dealing with disaster in various countries. I want to know maybe there are some reports about the spiritual aspect of those who experience disaster.
Spiritual experience.
Yes, spiritual aspect.
Spiritual aspect, I think the very different, and I think Indonesia and Sumatra tsunami, very strong experience. And Professor Ahiriani talk about the spiritual experience more. And though she is a mental health nurse professional, and so I think, but a bit difficult to describe to research work and this research work and scientific paper. So, but we have to visualize, and anyway, even though imaging essay, we have to gather the information and the concept as well. So, for example, I already talk about health emergency and disaster nursing. Yeah, I already talked about this. Yeah, this is the first journal of disaster nursing. Yeah, because the disaster nursing is very difficult to visualize, and because this is implementation kind of implementation action research and science. So even though imaging essay, we welcome the many essay and paper based, video based, any materials welcome to this report. So, and let us gather the information about spiritual care more.
Yes, okay, thank you. So we must have a clear concept, yeah, of how the spiritual aspect and how to intervene the spiritual intervention. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you
bit different on
so
culture.
much, Miss Professor Sakiko. Is there any question? Give you 2 minutes. I'm sorry, I'm offline just now. Okay, is there any question again? Okay, maybe no more question, yeah. Okay, thank you so much to Professor Sakiko. Uh, the material is very good, yeah. We've learned about the conceptual of disaster nursing in Japan, and we already see also about nursing role in India, in China, in Philippines, in Nepal, and we also learn about the need of disaster during this disaster research, yeah, and also lesson from Japan to the world, and also the important things is about happiness, yeah. Because the discussion session is finished, so this time I will give back to MC. Please, MC.
Thank you, Mrs. Dian and Professor Sakiko, for bringing us to a very productive session for today.
Okay, I'd like to say thank you again for Professor Sakiko and Mrs. Tian. And now I guess we're moving on to the next agenda, which is the explanation of learning activity by Mrs. Dursatyawati Devi. Ms. Devi, are you here?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I just remind you about the pretest time that we will start the pretest time at 12 o'clock today. GMT +7, and we will close in a 1 hours later, and then at 17 o'clock we will open the post test portal until September 29. Okay, good luck for you. Okay, I hope you can pass for the this summer course, and I will give to the MC. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Dewi, for the explanation. If there's any question that you have, please drop it on the discussion from on.
Okay, again, to Prof. Sakiko, we'd like to say thank you for the extravagant materials that you already gave to us. It's really enlightened us about the happiness, about the disaster also, and etc. We also like to say the gratitude to you Again, we're so honored that you're here with us, and we'd like to say thank you to Prof. Sakiko. Okay, so I guess now we're already at the end of the session. How do you feel? The participants, is there any of you who wants to give a word about today's material that has been given by Professor Sakiko? Or should I point out one of you to give a word? Or anyone who wants to volunteer? Okay, maybe I should point out so that we're not wasting so much time. Faradila Hanunaida, are you there? Can you give us a word about today's agenda? Maybe about the material that Professor Sakiko has already given to us. Faradila, are you there? Or maybe if Farah is not here, Hasna Muna, are you there? Um, or maybe Iwita? Or maybe I will call Tika Marliana. Are you here?
Yes, Miss. I'm here.
Tika
Do you,
Marliana, are you here?
yes, do you can hear my voice, Miss Susan?
Okay.
Okay.
I guess you can give us a word about today's agenda, or maybe the material that Professor Sakiko has already given to us. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Sakiko. And the time for me, I learned more about the disaster preparation and how
I'm sorry,
the
Tika.
concept.
I cannot hear your voice clearly. Can you please
Oh,
repeat?
okay.
Or is it about your Sanyo? I'm sorry, Tika. Can you talk a bit louder? Because I can hear your voice clearly.
Yeah, I think the my speaker is trouble me. Can you hear my voice now?
Okay, now I can hear your voice clearly. Go on.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Sakiko. I learned about disaster nursing, what is the concept, and the main point I think today is how to build the collaboration between institution, what is a government and the local government, so we can have powerful program to what is management risk reduction in disaster. I think that is the important thing that I noted today.
Okay, that's a good one. Thank you so much, Tika, for your opinion about today's agenda.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're already at the very end of the session. Ladies and gentlemen, let's thank to God's presence after this session by praying to our own beliefs. Amen. Before we finish the session for today, we would like to invite you to open the camera because we will take a photo documentation of today's agenda. We will count to 3 and take the photo. Okay, people, we would like to take the photo right now. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Again, 3, 2. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so maybe before we really leave this event, I would like to remind you that the last session of the summer course will be held on Friday, September 13, 2022 at 13 p.m. Jakarta's time. We would like to say thank you for your active participation today, and we would like to apologize if there were any mistakes that were made. So I guess have a great day. I am Sausan Ritni,
And I am Rizk Andriana.
are officially signing off for today. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you later.
See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sakiko.